Have you ever asked yourself, why am I not living the life I truly want? It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're not smart. It's not because you're not talented. It could be simply because every day you're focusing on things that aren't getting you where you want to go. Just pay attention. You wake up in the morning thinking about deadlines, unanswered messages, and annoying conversation from yesterday. Everything puts your mind in reactive mode rather than proactive. You turn on your phone, scroll through social media, see other people living their dream lives, and ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? You're not wrong. You're just caught up in too many things that aren't yours. Your mind, like a camera lens, it can zoom in on anything you choose, but if you don't choose, the world will choose for you. And most of what it chooses is fear, comparison, lack, and the feeling of never being enough. And then you ask yourself, why do I always feel lost? Why do I always feel unmotivated? Why do I feel like life is running and I am standing still? It's not because you are incapable. It's because your focus, the only thing you can control, has been stolen. You can't build a solid house if the foundation is always shaky. You can't write a new chapter if your eyes are glued to the old page. If you want to change your life, don't just think about goals. Start with something simpler. Focus. Where you focus, your energy flows there. You focus on the negative, you feed the feeling of failure. You focus on what you lack, you forget all that you have. So the real question isn't, what do I want? It's, what am I focusing on every day? Because that's where you're going. Here's a truth that no one tells you enough. Every thought you have is a command signal to your mind. Not a random thought. Not, I'm just thinking. Every thought is a blueprint. And your brain, it does exactly what you tell it to do, whether you realize it or not. If you think, I'm not good enough, your brain doesn't argue. It doesn't say, hey, don't think that. It just silently searches for evidence that proves it. And you start to see every failure, every shortcoming, every criticism as confirmation that you are not good enough. If you think, life is too hard for me, your brain filters out everything that says, yeah, that's true. If you're constantly thinking about fear, hurt, failure, you're not just imagining it. You are training your own filter to always find what scares you. And that creates a loop, an unconscious habit. This is not some mystical law of attraction. This is how the brain works, as a survival mechanism. If you repeat something with strong emotion over and over again, it will make it a top priority. In other words, you are coding your own life through every single thought. Your mind doesn't care if what you think is good for you. It just asks, where do you want to focus? And then it focuses all its energy, emotions, perspectives to reinforce that. And so you start living according to the beliefs you created. You see fewer opportunities, fewer beliefs, less motivation, not because they don't exist, but because you have ordered them to be ignored. Here's the bottom line. You don't live your life by what you want. You live your life by what you repeat in your head. And if you keep repeating what makes you weak, you will continue to be weak, not because you are weak, but because you have set your system to self-doubt. You can't expect a better life when the blueprint in your head says otherwise. So if you want to change your life, don't just change your environment. Start with the commands you are sending inside. Thinking is not something you have. It is something you practice every day. Did you know that your brain receives over 60,000 thoughts every day? But it doesn't process them all. It filters. It filters information using a very clever system called the reticular activating system. It sounds complicated, but you've been using it all your life. When you buy a red shirt, suddenly you see everyone wearing red shirts. When you think, I'm not good enough, you start seeing evidence of it everywhere. It's not an objective truth. It's your filter operating on your focus over and over again. This filtering system doesn't ask right or wrong. It has no emotions. It simply asks, what is the owner interested in? And starts to organize the world around that perspective. If you keep thinking about failure, it will find failure. If you keep thinking about opportunities, it will start to reveal opportunities you didn't see before. And here's the hard truth. Most of us don't use focus as a tool to build a castle. We use it as a shovel to dig a hole to bury ourselves. We fixate on things that don't make us bigger. We repeat the same old stories that make us weaker. And day after day, without realizing it, we are programming ourselves for a life we don't want. The mind is nothing more than a super powerful AI machine, and you are its programmer. But if you keep typing in the wrong commands, I'm not worthy, I can't change, my life is the way it is, how can you expect it to produce any different results? You can't ask for a door to open when you're pointing at a wall. The question is, how are you training your filtering system every day? By what you read, by what you hear, by what you repeat in your head. Every time you choose to focus on the negative, you are adding another brick to your mental prison. But every time you choose to focus on the solution, you are opening another door to freedom. Focus is not neutral. It is either lifting you up or pulling you down. And the strange thing is, just by changing your perspective a little, your filter changes the entire world you see. Not because the world changes, but because you start to see parts of the world that you were missing. Have you ever noticed? When you focus on something long enough, you start to become it. When you repeat to yourself, I'm not good enough, you gradually start acting as if it were true. When you constantly think of yourself as a failure, you start to turn down opportunities because you believe you're not worthy. On the other hand, when you focus on resilience, on the journey of learning, on each small step forward, you start to see a stronger version of yourself. Focus is not just something you think about. It's something you become. Because every repeated thought, every reinforced belief is silently rewriting your identity. You are not what others say you are. You are not just what happened in the past. You are the result of what you choose to focus on today. Focus is where identity is formed. Focus on pain, you will define yourself as a broken person. Focus on limitations, you will see yourself as a deficient person. Focus on value, you will begin to live as if you have a mission to fulfill. Identity is not a fixed description set at birth. It is a decision to make over and over again. And you have the power every day to choose who you are by where you place your attention. This is the scariest, but also the most powerful thing. If you do not choose your identity proactively, the world will choose for you, and often based on fear, doubt, or the expectations of others. So ask yourself, which identity is your current focus reinforcing? The tired one or the driven one? The anxious one or the one who can overcome adversity? A person living in memories or a person building the future? Focus is not simply a mental choice. It is a choice about who you are shaping to become. Because in the end, you don't live by what you say you want. You live by what you believe you are. And that belief is built by what you focus on. Every day, every hour, every moment. There are things you don't owe anymore. You don't owe fear. You don't owe painful memories. You don't owe criticism that someone threw at you years ago, but you still hold on to them as if they still matter. You still let your mind replay painful scenarios. You still let old phrases silently dictate your confidence. And you call them truth. No, they're not truths. They're choices that repeat. You don't realize that you're continuing to invest energy, not in dreams, but in fragments of the past, into emotions that have expired. It's time to be strong. And ask yourself, why do I continue to feed the thoughts that weaken me? Why do I still hold on to the voices that break me? You can't move forward if you're still staring in the rearview mirror. You can't upgrade your life if your mind is still controlled by the same old scripts. You don't owe loyalty to the past. You don't owe fear respect. And you absolutely don't owe the thoughts that diminish you any space in your mind. There are habits you need to let go of. There are inner voices you need to silence. There are negative emotional areas you need to stop investing energy into. Because if you keep investing in doubt, you'll get doubt back. If you keep investing in pain, you'll live in a wound that will never heal. If you keep allowing fear to be in the driver's seat, no matter how capable you are, you'll stand still. This isn't just talk. Here's a word of warning. Everything you put your mind to builds you. If you want to move toward a stronger version of yourself, you can't hold on to the versions that weaken you. Stop holding on to things that are outdated. They no longer fit the journey you're on. Let them go. Not because you're heartless, but because you deserve to live up to your full potential. Focus is not just a momentary action. Focus is a life or death decision. A person is disoriented, not because they are incapable, but because they are dividing their energy in too many directions. Have you noticed that the most successful people, not the ones who do the most, are the ones who know how to choose the most worth doing? They do not spend all their days reacting. They choose to respond with purpose. They are not dominated by all the noise. They know how to turn off the frequencies that do not lead to the destination. Because they understand a simple but profound thing. You will go where your eyes focus. And that eye, not just the physical eye, but the inner eye, the mind. When you focus on something, you are investing in your own future. Every small choice and focus is a brick that builds a direction. Do you want to build a castle? So don't let yourself get caught up in picking up every pebble on the road. Don't let your mind become a war zone filled with sounds, messages, and emotions that don't serve you. You don't have to do it all. You just have to choose the one you know for sure. It will take you the farthest. Focus is not a skill. Focus is a commitment. Commitment to something that matters. Commitment to what you know you were born to do. And when you focus your attention in one direction, you don't just change the outcome. You are re-steering the wheel of your life. When you master your focus, you are taking the wheel out of the hands of circumstances, of old habits, of negative voices. You put it in your own hands. And for the first time, you choose the direction. Not everyone has the opportunity to change their life, but everyone has the right to refocus. And sometimes, just one choice you make today is enough to make everything go down a different path. You don't need to become a completely new person. You just need to become the version of you that you've always been, but covered in dust by old habits. Every thought you repeat, every habitual reaction, every belief you harbor every day, it's all silently reprogramming your identity. Who you think you are doesn't come from a single bright moment. It comes from thousands of small moments when you choose to act right, even when no one is watching. When you choose to rethink instead of reacting automatically. When you choose to stop, ask yourself, is this way of thinking still serving me? Identity isn't created by inspiration. Identity is forged by consistent will. You don't need to wait for a big milestone to start over. You can start today by changing the thoughts you repeat every morning, by choosing a new question, a new statement, a new belief that you plant within yourself. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm learning to be better every day. Instead of, I can't focus, try, I'm rebuilding my focus every moment. You're not fighting the past. You're just reprogramming the present. And when you choose to hold a new belief, even for the first 3 minutes of your day, when you choose to repeat a habit that makes you stronger, even for 5 minutes of silence, you're resetting your identity operating system. And then at some point, you don't have to try so hard, because you've already become that person. No more struggling to be disciplined. You are disciplined. No more trying to focus. You are focused. No more trying to motivate, because you are the driving force. All real change doesn't start with results. It starts with a small habit in the mind. If you doubt the power of focus, look back at your journey. Everything you've ever achieved, overcome, survived, has one thing in common. You chose to focus. on a goal, on a hope, or simply on not giving up. Focus is not a skill. It is a factor that shapes your future. You can't control your circumstances. You can't control other people. You can't know exactly what will happen tomorrow, but there is one thing you can control, and the only thing that truly defines your life: where you place your attention each day. Focus is how you tell the universe, "This is important to me," and the universe responds to you accordingly. Focus is how you signal your mind, "Reinforce what I'm looking at," and then every cell in your body will adjust to it. The more you focus on progress, the more you move forward. The more you focus on limitations, the more you are limited. Focus is not an action, it is a choice, over and over again. Every morning when you open your eyes, every time you feel discouraged, every time you want to give up, remember, you have the power to return to the center, the place where focus gives birth to your strongest self. And if there is one thing that needs to be repeated every day, it is this: everything you want starts with where you put your attention. Focus isn't just about productivity. It's about identity. It's about future. Change your focus, change your life.